What's going on, everybody? This is Ty, the Bourbon Guy, and this is episode 2 of Bourbon Talk. Welcome back. Hopefully, everybody's had a good week since the last time I saw you or talked to you. So, um, I myself have had a pretty good week. Feels like this thing's kind of rolling now, right? So, I don't know, just been going with it and real excited basically to get it going. So, um, this week, we are going to discuss a few different things. So, the main topic, as you can probably see in the title, is Russell's Reserve. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about Russell's Reserve and what that brand means to me, um, and whether or not I think that you should explore that one or not. So, but yeah, this week has been really cool. So, there's so much already kind of going, right? So, between social media. So for those of you that don't know, you can actually follow me on Instagram at Ty the Bourbon Guy. But there has been that still going. And so there's still people that I'm getting to know on there and that are messaging me and that I'm messaging with. And so many people are doing so many cool things. I've seen people actually fly out to different distilleries and meet with them. And I'm excited to see what comes out of that. A lot of different people are, even, working on a barrel pick or picking their own whiskey. And so that's actually something that's in the works for me. So there's a liquor store here locally that I work with and I do a lot of stuff with. We just talk bourbon. I don't know if I really call it work, but when it comes to all their barrel picks and all the things that they're doing, it's really cool to see, their palate. So somebody actually asked me last week about barrel picks. And so my suggestion is whether it's a bourbon club or a whiskey club or anything like that, a liquor store, whatever it may be, find people that understand tasting whiskey, and then also maybe one's palate similar to yours. And even if the palate's different, that's okay too. But what I found in the store here locally is that because they understand bourbons so well and whiskey so well, when they're picking bourbons or ryes and making these barrel picks, I can almost guarantee that's going to be a really good barrel. So when I'm picking one of their bottles up, I mean, there's bottles that I've had before of theirs that I didn't even care to sample. I don't need to sample it. I know that if they're picking it, it's most likely going to be a great pick. And so there's some times where maybe the barrels that were available or what they're picking from isn't always the best either. So there's that. But for this particular group, I know that whatever they pick, it was the best out of whatever they had. So best for my palate. My palate kind of aligns with theirs. And not always. There's different things that they end up appreciating or liking that I just don't care for. And that's okay too. That's what makes whiskey fun, right? So, but I highly encourage you all to get out there and if you're really starting to get into whiskey, look for barrel picks. I know there's all the bourbon hunts and everybody's looking for everything, Pappy, Blanton's, whatever, right? But there's so much out there that's really good and really worth purchasing. And a lot of them, in my opinion, are single barrel picks or barrel select bourbon, because once that barrel, as unique as that barrel is, once it's gone, it's gone. So if I, have a bottle of whatever it may be, I know there might be different batches, but if I have a bottle of Blanton's, and Blanton's is a single barrel, but is it really? I guess it is, but flavor wise, they don't differ that often between each other, in my opinion. But when it comes to barrel picks, you can absolutely find some that are very special. So that's kind of just my my little rant for the week. But the next time you go to a liquor store, just ask them. Say, like, which where are your barrel picks at, or do you have any barrel picks? What are your latest? What do you recommend? And they might even let you try some before you buy it. It just depends on the store and what the situation is. But, um, you know, it can be a whiskey that you like. So for me, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel, which I will talk about later on this evening, New Riff Single Barrels, they can vary widely. So there's some that I think are okay, and there's some that I think are amazing. So that's kind of what when it comes to picking barrels, that's kind of what I think of. So give that a shot next time you're out and about looking for whiskey. So let's look real quick. There's a few questions. I figured that might come up. The wood sign in the background. And then Shifty Trash Panda says, yeah, the sign is making me a happy camper. Mr. Solo Dolo, dope sign back there. So since everybody's curious about the new setup for Bourbon Talk, it actually comes from, I have it written down here, Farmhouse Laser Cuts. It's a little harder for me to say, but Farmhouse Laser Cuts on Instagram. So if you check them out, they actually, if you go to, so I guess their Instagram handle is Farmhouse Laser Cuts, all one word. If you actually go to them and shoot them a DM with whatever details you may want for a sign, and if you let them know that either I sent you or you use the promo code Ty the Bourbon Guy 20, they'll actually give you 20% off. So shout out to them because that is a really dope sign. They did an amazing job. Yeah, I don't, for anybody that may be new to the channel or new to following me on social media, I don't promote anything that I'm not a fan of myself, and or that I haven't tried myself or dealt with. And they were excellent to work with. And like I said, the sign is just awesome. So Farmhouse Laser Cuts on Instagram, Ty the Bourbon Guy 20 for 20% off. Check them out. Let's see. Tweaking things, working on it. The set's getting a little bit better as we go through. So I'm really excited. Like I said, the fact that this is episode 2 already. So, we're moving. And just as you guys know, going forward, there's actually a few different, not just distilleries, but there's people in general that are in whiskey that I've talked to that are interested in coming on the show. So keep tuning in. Like I said, every Tuesday, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be on here. And so next week, we have a distillery coming on the show. So be here for that. That's going to be really exciting. You'll hear more throughout the week and check out more on Instagram throughout the week. But I'm really excited. I will say that I'm working with them again. So that's a hint. And then I guess probably sometime in October, there's a guest that I'm really excited with excited to work with that's coming up there in October. So there's a few others that we've talked about kind of doing something together. So with the whole social media thing, it still kind of blows my mind that it's just, and that's what whiskey is about, in my opinion. It's just about getting together and meeting new people and trying new things and just learning more about life or somebody else's life or just getting to know people. And it's been crazy to me how much I've learned about people or how many people I've gotten to know, through social media and through just talking whiskey. Other news from me, this Friday, I'm actually going to be recording a podcast. There is a podcast called Strangers Worth Meeting, and they have an excellent show. They basically travel around the country and they just meet with different people with different hobbies, different backgrounds, different passions, and they just kind of let them talk. So I'm really excited. They're going to join me on Friday, and we are going to sample some whiskeys and record a podcast, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So when that episode drops, I will definitely let everybody know. But keep a lookout for that. That's going to be a lot of fun too. So with that being said, Russell's Reserve Tenure is the first bottle we're going to look at. So if I could get it to focus here. So Russell's Reserve, it's a 10-year-old product. And Wild Turkey actually is the one that distills this. So if anybody is familiar with Wild Turkey, I guess I should say for those that aren't familiar with Wild Turkey, the Russell family has been heavily involved in Wild Turkey for many years. So Jimmy Russell is the father, I guess, grandfather now, but and then Eddie Russell, his son, is part of this as well, and so that's where the name Russell's Reserve comes from, and so and now even his son's involved. But the description on the label says more than 90 years. That's the combined tenure of master distillers Jimmy and his son Eddie Russell. They hand select barrels uh, at least 10 years of aging, resulting in a bourbon that delivers a balance of rich, spicy vanilla flavors. Their experience guarantees yours. So when they say at least 10 years, what that means, for those that may not know, when it says 10-year old on there, that means that the bourbon going into the bottle has to be at least 10 years. So it can be over, but it can't be under, if that makes sense. So if they're blending, it's not two barrels, but if they're blending two barrels together and one's a 5-year-old barrel and another is a 10-year-old barrel, it has to, if you're going to put a number on it, if you're going to put an age statement on there is what it's called, it has to at least be 5. They couldn't use 10 in that situation because 5 is the youngest. So that tells you that at least with this particular offering, that it has to at least be 10 years old. So let's open it up and get a little pour, get a little cork pop. So let's look here. So 10 years old, 45% alcohol, 90 proof. So in my opinion, this is very approachable, especially at that proof. 90 proof is, so 80 is the lowest it can be, right? And so 90 is pretty approachable when it comes to whiskey. And if you're just getting into it, one of the things I actually mentioned last week is you can start with whatever that proof may be. And if it's too much, add water or whatever you need to back it off. And if, or ice, if you're trying to get that burn to go away or to help you drink it a little bit easier. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So to me, any Wild Turkey product is kind of like the quintessential like bourbon. So the vanilla, caramel, the oak, all of those notes or those flavors that are typical in bourbon, I pick up all of them in Wild Turkey products all across the board. I think Wild Turkey is a little more spicy than at least for me than what other distilleries might offer, but I definitely get spice on almost every one of their products. So the mash bill, or the recipe that's used to make that actual bourbon, is 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. So so you have to at least have 51% corn to be considered a bourbon. But at 75%, that's a lot of corn. But they do a lot when it comes to proof that's coming into the barrel when they're distilling and all that during that process and the maturation process. So letting this sit for at least 10 years, even at that proof, it still brings a lot to the table, but just because of the age, the fact that it sat in that barrel for 10 years, right? So I actually am getting like so all the same notes that I mentioned, the vanilla, the oak, the caramel, I actually get a little, I said the spice, like almost like a black pepper type spice. But there's also a cherry note in there for me that Wild Turkey typically gives me. So let's see if the taste or the palate is reflective of that nose. So let's see. So on the front of that, so the as soon as I took that sip, Then I get the spice, that black pepper type of spice, or that heat, and then it almost goes into like a syrup type of sweetness. Like I said, the oak and all that's there. Because of this, in my opinion, because of this, that black pepper that I get in a lot of wild turkey, that spice, um, because that's there a lot of the time. So like this is 90 proof, but to me, if I didn't know, like if you just poured this and I just drank it, I may not guess that that's 90 proof. I may guess that that's maybe 100 proof or something along those lines. Just because of that pepper note, it ends up drinking a little bit hotter than what it actually is. So again, if you're just getting into whiskey, or maybe you've been into whiskey, but you just don't want that, you want it to be a little bit more approachable and dulled down, don't be afraid to add some water to it and try to bring that spice back down, and see if you can pick up other flavors. Because what happens sometimes, at least that I've seen, is if somebody's getting into whiskey and it's like overpowering, and it's not, they can't taste anything else besides that spice, or that they can't feel anything else besides that heat. Um, so maybe you give that a shot and see if the water, or sometimes even like a block of ice or something like that, can help bring it back down. So give that a shot. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's so to me, this is a really good bottle. So out here in Indianapolis area, this bottle typically goes for, I'd say, under $40, pretty much everywhere I've seen it. So it's anywhere from like 35 to 40 range, and it's available everywhere. Um, Anywhere that whether it's like, I've seen it in Walmart, I've seen it in Target, I've seen it literally everywhere. Obviously, every liquor store. So the thing that I never can understand, and I think it's just a matter of what's available, but Eagle Rare is a 10-year product. And lately, so that to me, that was a value. So if you're getting Eagle Rare at around $30, um, then yeah, that to me, that's an excellent value. But now Eagle Rare is a lot harder to find. And when I have found it, people are asking ridiculous prices for it, whether it's a liquor store or somebody trying to sell it on a secondary market. And their prices are just crazy. And I think the thing to keep in mind about all bourbon, in my opinion, and all whiskey, if the price is what it is, and that's what makes that value a good one, if you pump that price up, is it then worth that? So if you're buying Eagle Rare at $30, that's an amazing value. If you're buying Eagle Rare at $80, is it really that good of a value anymore? So if it's a whiskey that you like and you really enjoy, and that's the one you go to, and that's the only one you drink or whatever, then sure. I mean, it might be worth it to you to spend the extra money on that product. But to me, it just kind of, anytime I go to a liquor store and I see other people shopping for they always ask for the same ones. But you're walking past a lot of great bourbon, a lot of great whiskey, looking for a Blanton's or looking for an Eagle Rare. And one of the things that or I guess what I'm surprised at the most, is this product, in my opinion, is closest to Eagle Rare than any other product out there. I think the taste profile, what it brings, is close. The fact that it's a 10-year age stated, meaning that the actual age is on there, age stated bourbon, it's coming through Wild Turkey, or from Wild Turkey, the mash bill and all that stuff. So it's a good quality product. It's a major distiller. It's got wide distribution. I don't know. To me, it's an excellent alternative if you can't find Eagle Rare in your area. So if you have had Eagle Rare, or maybe you have tried a few other ones, but now you're kind of looking for something else, to me, this is excellent. I will say also, the spice that I pick up on all Wild Turkey products, in my opinion, makes it even better in a cocktail. So I do drink Wild Turkey products neat, but anytime I've put it in a cocktail, I can use Wild Turkey 101, or Russell's Reserve 10-year, whatever it may be, or if I'm out at a bar or whatever, and they have Russell's Reserve 10-year, I'm okay, or Wild Turkey 101. I'm okay with putting that in a cocktail, because that spice you're going to taste that still, even through all the other components of that cocktail. So this particular bottle is, like I said, 90 proof, 10 years old, 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley, and the suggested retail price is $38. So now we will move to the second bottle. So this is Russell's Reserve Single Barrel. So let you see it there. Let the camera focus. So the single barrel is the same product. So kind of like what I mentioned last week. So this particular one, you're using more than one barrel to blend together to get a certain taste profile, a Russell's Reserve flavor, if you will. The single barrel is literally taking one of those barrels out of that that batch or that mixture, and you're just purely using that one barrel. So this particular one was picked by, it's a group, or it's actually one person, but it's called the Bourbon Enthusiast Group, Private Barrel Club. You can also check them out on Instagram. I've had a lot of his barrel picks, and he does a great job with a lot of them. So this particular one, he actually went there and picked it. And so this is a little different from a one that you may find on a shelf, but we're still going to give it a shot here. So the main difference here between the two is Russell Reserve 10 year is going to be cheaper in price, obviously. So it's $38, whereas Russell's Reserve single barrel is typically, I've seen it around $60 in that range. But the proof is going to be a lot higher. So you're going from 90 proof to 110 proof. So this one's 110 and this one is 90. So let's see if there's any difference in this one. So let's look at some comments real quick. Pixel Bob, the actual picture doesn't show up. I was hoping it did. It's Bob Ross, and my wife loves Bob Ross for some reason. I think it just helps her fall asleep. I don't know. Trash Panda says, well, you're going to go drinking again. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you do it responsibly. Yeah, so yes, I do. That's my wife for everybody that's keeping track at home. She does love Bob Ross. And I don't know. I guess it's because, I don't know. He helps you fall asleep because of the paintbrush. I don't know. Shout out to Bob Ross, right? I feel like he's like starting to come back lately. Although everything that's was a thing at one point is coming back, right? But so his voice is soothing. All right, don't, you know. All right, that's enough. That's enough. No more Bob Ross talk. Apparently, I got I don't know. I got competition with Bob Ross, apparently. But yeah, so for me, right off the bat, I feel like I can almost tell that the 10 seems watered down, and that's probably the proof. So with the 10 year being a 90 proof and the single barrel being 110, that's probably, I guess that's expected. So there's more depth in the single barrel. So even though it's 20 proof points difference, I personally don't feel like it tastes like it's 20 because that 90 proof drinks hotter. And like I said earlier, I kind of feel like it's like maybe 100. It feels like 100 to me. The fact that this is 110, it doesn't really feel like it's that big of a difference. So if I drink an 80 proof bourbon and then I go to a bottled and bond, let's say, which is 100 proof, I feel like I can absolutely tell that difference So going 20 proof points, you should really be able to tell the difference between these two. I actually can't. I can tell that there is a difference. It doesn't feel like it's 20 proof points difference. Um, so the same notes that I got just kicked up a notch. So um, it's probably appropriate to share now, but Jimmy Russell, who I said, right, the Russell family. So he actually, one of the ways that I heard him put it one time is when you talk about proof, he kind of used the metaphor of a steak. So a lot of people like their steaks more on the rare side or medium rare. And the reason that they do is because that steak, you can get more flavor out of that steak by not overcooking it. So, um, that's why people order it the way they do. So he equated that to proof and bourbon. So the higher a proof, the more flavor that you're going to be able to pull out. So I think initially, a lot of people, especially if you're just getting into whiskey, one of the things I hear is whether it's smooth or it's hot. And there, obviously, if you're saying that, you're talking about the proof and how it drinks, and is it approachable? Is it easy to drink? Which always cracks me up. So for those that may not know, in the whiskey world, when you say smooth, people get all like in an uproar about it. Like, what does that mean? And how do you know if it's smooth? To me, like, I just think that's dumb. That's just my opinion, because anytime somebody says something smooth, you understand what it is that they mean. And that just means that to them, that whiskey is approachable and it doesn't have a burn to it like a higher proof, spicier bourbon. So if you, at least for me, when I was starting out, when I went into the higher proof bourbons that are 120, 130, whatever it may be, I basically just added water until I could, I added water and I would back off of that until I could basically drink without it. So one of the tricks that I learned was to pour whatever that whiskey is in a glass, and I would typically have like a bottle of water. And from there, I would drink the high proof whiskey, just take like a tiny sip, and I would take a tiny sip of water. And then it got to the point where when you do that enough times, you're almost like you can back off the water. So now maybe you don't need as much water when you're mixing or, kind of drinking it that way. So if you're out at a bar and you're trying different whiskeys, or if you're with, a friend, or even checking out a whiskey yourself, that's a trick that you could do too. Try, a glass of water, a bottle of water, and take that sip. And then that's how you know how much water to add, and just go about it that way until it's comfortable. So that's a trick that I learned. And it also, when you add that water, remember, it brings the proof down. So you're making it more approachable. So if you start with something, so this one's 110, right? So if you start there and you're adding water, let's say, and I don't ever like measure it, but let's say now I've brought it down to 90. So now it's this one, right? So, and that's approachable to me. Then the next time I go to drink it, maybe I need less water, and I don't need as much. So now I'm drinking it at 95, and I keep going less water, less water, less water, until you get to the actual right out the bottle. So that's one of the ways that I do it, or I have done it in the past when I was trying to learn how to drink cask strength whiskey. And now I've gotten pretty much used to it, to the point that that doesn't bother me anymore, but it took me a long time to get to that point. So if you drink whiskey on ice, or a block of ice, or with water, and maybe that's all you want to drink it as, like maybe you don't want to drink it without the water, go for it. I will say there's some whiskeys, and that's where I think whiskey is fun, because you just have to explore it. You have to figure out what the taste is for you and how you want to drink it. So when you're drinking, a particular whiskey, there are some, when I add water to it, that I feel like it opens up a whole nother layer of flavors that I didn't notice before. And then there's some that I add water to, and it just feels like it watered it down. It just dulled it out, and there's no more flavor there. All I taste is bourbon. So really, it's up to you and what your taste preferences are, and the whiskey that you're drinking, and all that. So Trash Panda says, I'll try that. Yeah. Let me know, man. That's, like I said, it worked for me. And, but there's plenty of people that I know that they drink their whiskey on ice, or they drink their whiskey with water, and that's just what they do. That's what they enjoy, and do it. It's your whiskey. You paid for it. So don't let anybody tell you that you have to drink it neat. But if you're drinking a whiskey, trying to figure out what flavors it brings and the different notes and all this other stuff, um, then trying to get to backing the water off and to the point where you can drink it neat might help you be able to pick up more flavors. So now that this one's been sitting here opening up for a little bit, it's just, I don't know. I think it's really good. So the Russell's products. So these are the bourbons. So again, if anybody is looking to purchase these at any point, the Tenure bourbon and the single barrel. They also have, lately they just came out with a 13-year, and that's I believe a limited release. When they say limited, I don't know how long they're going to do that, but it is a limited release. And then they also have a Russell's Reserve 6-year rye and a single barrel rye. I'm not always the biggest rye fan, but when I tried their rye, I thought it was amazing. So the Russell's brand itself within Wild Turkey, they have a lot of great products, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. Pretty much everything that Wild Turkey has come out with, I've enjoyed. So, so it's a little different. So for those of us, at least, and I don't know, the college days, it might have been Wild Turkey 101. Let's just throw that in here, throw that in there. Shots, whatever, right? So a little different nowadays. So now when I went back and revisited Wild Turkey products, I realized that it's actually really good whiskey. Wild Turkey 101 is normally less than $25. And it's one that I drink neat. It's one I use in cocktails. It's one, if somebody comes over, they're familiar with it. And so that itself, if you're looking into a different whiskey to try, I would say start there, because you might be surprised. Maybe in college it was one way, and maybe now you view it different. But then also keep in mind the other Wild Turkey products, all of them, in my opinion, are amazing. They're all really good whiskeys. And I just kind of wonder. So for those that may not know, Buffalo Trace products, so Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Weller, Blanton's, Rock Hill Farms, Elmer T. Lee, all of those are, for the most part, extremely hard to find in most places. I was kind of surprised because where I'm at in Indianapolis, Buffalo Trace is everywhere, but I have hardly ever see Weller just sitting around. And I actually went and visited some friends in Dallas and went to a liquor store down there, and they just had Weller sitting there. And somebody walked in and asked for Buffalo Trace, and they said, no, we don't have any, and the guy walked right back out. So it's just amazing to me, when something's available to you and not available to you, just the human psychology behind it, why we gravitate towards one product or another. In my opinion, because these are so available, I think we take them for granted. I think people kind of look at Wild Turkey, like I said, think about prior experiences, and maybe kind of just rule that out. But if I were you, and like I said, maybe you're in the point where you're looking for a new bourbon, and you've had, you've tried Woodford Reserve, you've tried some of the Maker's Mark, you've tried some of these others. Try anything from Wild Turkey. Rare Breed is actually really good too. And I'll cover that on another episode, but that's their cask strength. So they don't water it down at all, proof it down at all. It's coming out the way that it comes out of the barrel. And really Rare Breed is, Wild Turkey 101, but just proofed up. So same stuff. So next time you're out looking for a whiskey, check out some of the Wild Turkey products. And just, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram or anything like that and let me know what you thought and if you tried it out. So let's see. So the Russell's Reserve, like I said, it's almost like it's just turned up. Like the same flavors are there, but just more in depth. So I think because of that cinnamon, maybe, I don't know if it's been sitting there or if it's because it's been sitting there. Um, that black pepper almost goes into like a cinnamon. So how similarly to how you would eat something that has cinnamon, it's got that like cinnamon spice to it. Um, that's kind of what I'm getting now. Whereas when I initially drank that, my mind was kind of going black pepper. Now it's kind of going like cinnamon. But that spice is still there. So as you taste whiskey, just think about like, don't try to think of like what the right answer is or like what you should be tasting. One of the things I like to do is when I get a new bottle of whiskey, and I'm trying something for the first time, whether I'm nosing the glass or I'm actually tasting it, I just basically I'm just close my eyes sometimes and I just like am asking myself, what do you taste or what do you smell? And I try, it's hard, but I try to tell myself like it's not bourbon. Like what else is it that you're smelling? Um, and I try to recall those memories. So if you're tasting bourbon and somebody tells you that, well, you taste cloves or nutmeg or whatever, if you don't know what that tastes like or what that smells like, then how do you know what I mean? Like that, your memory, your brain's going off of memory. So if you've never tasted those things or smelled those things, how can you recall that smell? So just remember, there's no right or wrong answer. You smell and you taste what it is that you smell and taste, and that's what the notes are then, right, to you. So comment here, any particular Virginia specific bottles that you would recommend? I wouldn't say specific. I do know that the ABC stores there do some barrel picks. So if you go into an ABC store there, you can actually ask them, hey, what are some barrel picks that you've had come in lately? You can definitely ask them that. They might have some. I don't know what they have picked lately, but I do know in the past I've seen some Maker's Mark picks and a few others that are pretty good, and then people have enjoyed. So ABC for Virginia, seems like people pretty much enjoy their barrel picks. So that would be specific to Virginia. But when it comes to Virginia distilleries, um, I would say the Bowman Bourbon. That's really big right now. So they have a cask strength that just came out. They have their regular Bowman. They have a Bowman finished in a port barrel, which if you've ever heard of Angel's Envy or anything like that, it's you're basically taking a port barrel. You make the bourbon, and then you take, after the bourbon has matured in its original new oak container, then you transfer it over to a port barrel and you finish it in a port barrel. So that's a brand right now in whiskey that's really doing well. They're receiving all types of awards. And they're doing really well. So it's not specific to Virginia, but they actually are a Virginia distillery. So that's something that you might want to check out. And really, anybody could check out if they have distribution in their state. Try asking for barrel picks. Yeah. So one of the future episodes that we'll down the road, one of the things we'll do is we'll work with, hopefully, we'll work with the liquor store that I always work with and talk to often. And we'll see if we can get one of them on the show and see what they do and when it comes to barrel picks and how they pick and what their process is and kind of what they're thinking when they do those picks. Like I said, to me, there's some, like I have, there's actually behind me there, one of their picks that they did was a Maker's Mark pick, and they called it s'mores. And it's literally, that name came about because you taste it and it's s'mores in a glass. And it's hard to see in the video, but behind me, when I have probably that much left in the bottle, and I can't, I don't know. I want to drink it so bad, but I can't drink it because once I drink it, that bottle's gone and it's gone. So that's what makes barrel picks, in my opinion, so special, because I can have a rare bottle, but I can always find another rare bottle. When I have something like that, that's that good, I know that once it's gone, it's gone. So I'll find another single barrel pick or whatever somewhere down the road that's going to be good too. But you always want more of that. So my recommendation is, if you do find one and you open it up and you're like, man, this is amazing. go back and see if you can buy another bottle, because that may be worth it more so than overpaying for another whiskey that's not worth it in the end. So, man, I think it's really good. So the Russell's Reserve single barrel, both products are excellent. If you are kind of getting into whiskey and maybe you've had Eagle Rare and you're looking for it, and you're looking for a replacement, since you can't find that, try this. And just like I said, I'm curious what people think, but give that a shot. If you've maybe been into whiskey for a little bit and maybe you can't find Blanton's, and I'm not saying this is Blanton's, but if you can't find that, but you can find this sitting on the shelf, I think this is an excellent alternative to that. So give this a shot too. And not everybody enjoys the Wild Turkey products like I do, but there's actually there's a person that does. He's actually written books about Wild Turkey. Who his Instagram handle is RareBird101. He does a lot with Wild Turkey, and one of the things that he mentions is that when he first got into whiskey, he looked to see what was available and what was true value in whiskey. And Wild Turkey was a distillery for him that he thought covered all bases. So they have an age-stated 10-year product. They have single barrels. They have now they have Rare Breed, which is a cask strength product, and they're all available. So so it's not a bad distillery to check out if you haven't in a long time. But I guess I will definitely say that this is a recommendation. And since the glass is empty, I guess that means the show is over. I appreciate everybody tuning in this evening, and we will see you next week, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week is going to be an awesome episode. Like I said, there will be a distillery on the show, and I'll drop hints on my Instagram this upcoming week so you can tell or maybe start guessing at who's coming back. But tune back in next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Twitch. And in the meantime, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you follow me at Ty the Bourbon Guy, and follow me and set the reminders and all that stuff on YouTube. That way you never miss the show. Appreciate you guys. Last few comments here. Great show, Ty. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's getting better and better. And like I said, next week's going to be a lot of fun. So tune in next week, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Twitch at Ty the Bourbon Guy. See you guys next week. Cheers.